If you've ever tried making infographics with AI, you know how frustrating it can be. The text never comes out right, and the whole thing looks generic. But I found the best workflow for making clean, high-quality infographics, the kind that actually look designed instead of generated. So in this video, I'll show you how to make 4 completely different styles, and every one of them comes out looking professional. The reason your AI infographics come out looking generic has nothing to do with the actual model. The model can draw almost anything you describe. What it can't do is guess what you actually meant. So if you give it something vague, it just makes up its own layout and fills in whatever you left out. And that's how you end up with something completely different than what you wanted. For a professional infographic, you need a prompt that doesn't leave anything for the model to guess. Things like a real title, the actual data points, a set layout, and a color direction are all essential. You could write everything yourself, but it's honestly time-consuming and it's easy to forget something. So instead, I'll use Claude. So I'll log in and select Fable 5 as the model, since it's currently the best when it comes to highly complex tasks. But if you're on the free plan, it should also work just fine. Then I'll paste in my base prompt, which sets it up to write these fully specified infographic prompts for me. You can find every prompt I'll use throughout this tutorial in the link I've left in the description below. It's completely free, so you can follow along step by step. Then I'll just tell it the topic and the type. For this first one, I want to make an infographic about the water cycle, and it asks a couple of questions, like the aspect ratio and whether I want a source line. Once you answer them, it'll then come back with a fully specified prompt. Now, to turn that into an actual image, I'll use Higgsfield, which is an all-in-one platform that gives me access to everything I need for this workflow. If you want to follow along, I've left a link to Higgsfield in the description below. Once you log in, you'll notice that everything's organized along the top navigation bar. To make an infographic, click on Image, and that opens the image generation workspace. In the model selector, I'll go with GPT Image 2, because right now it's the best model that renders text properly with every word spelled right, which is the most important part when you want an infographic that looks professional. I'll set the aspect ratio to 16:9, the resolution to 4K, and the quality to high. And before I touch Claude's prompt, I'll first show you what you'd normally get with a prompt that most people would write, like make an infographic about the water cycle. What comes back has the 4 stages in disconnected boxes with no real cycle between them. And some of the labels come out with weird spacing, because nothing in that prompt told the model about the layout or the specific wording. It technically is an infographic about the water cycle, which is what I asked. But if you were to actually use this for professional use, everyone would be able to tell it was generated. So now I'll paste in the prompt Claude wrote and run it on the exact same model with the same settings. So the only thing that changes is the prompt. If you compare the two, you can immediately tell the difference in quality. This time, the 4 stages connect in a proper circular flow with the arrows pointing the right way around, and every label is actually readable. And the only difference was the details in the prompt. And prompting correctly is a skill most people underestimate. They assume that the gap between a bad result and a good one comes down to which model they're using, so they keep switching tools looking for something better. And while models do affect the output quality, more often than not, it's not the variable. You saw how GPT Image 2 gave us both a generic result and a professional one. One other thing worth knowing is that Claude's prompt will also specify things the image model would never prioritize on its own, like keeping the background clean, using a consistent type scale, or making sure the title is visually dominant. Those are the details that make something look designed rather than just generated. But this first format only has 4 simple stages, so let's push this further by adding a lot more elements that the AI could get wrong. And the best example of that is creating a whole timeline. If you just prompt with simple words like, make a timeline of the history of the internet, the model picks its own handful of milestones. It decides how many there even are, and none of them come with real dates or numbers behind them. The fix is to actually direct what you want on that timeline and spell out the exact events, their dates, and the order. So back in Claude, I'll tell it, I want an infographic of the timeline on the history of the internet. And because it's a timeline, it asks specific questions for that use case, like how many milestones you want, and how far should the timeline run. 10 is a good number of milestones that will also be readable at 16:9 aspect ratio, and I want the timeline to run all the way up to the AI era around 2026. Once I answer, it locks the order strictly left to right, so the model can't move the years around. And it comes back with 10 dated milestones, each with a short description, from ARPANET in 1969 to the World Wide Web going public, the iPhone, and ChatGPT in 2022. It also adds a few side panels around the timeline, so it's more than just a simple line. Then I'll take that prompt back into the image generation workspace on GPT Image 2, keep the same settings, and generate. And this time, every milestone is one I chose, in the right order from left to right with the correct dates. And the panels are full of real data instead of made-up numbers. Claude wrote the actual prompt, but I was the one to decide every single detail, and that's why the infographic comes out as something you'd actually use. Now, the next style is for something completely different. For this one, I want to show the whole process of how coffee is made from start to finish. If you just ask for an infographic about how coffee is made, you get a bare list of steps. The model decides how many there are, and there are no details that actually make the infographic usable. So back in Claude, I'll paste in this prompt where it explains that I want a process infographic of how coffee is made, and it'll ask questions that relate to the whole process template, like whether I want the full journey from the farm all the way to the cup, or just the home brewing part at the end, and whether to keep it at 16:9. I'll go with the full journey, which works out to about 8 steps, because that's the version that teaches someone where coffee actually comes from, instead of just how to brew it. Claude lays out all 8 steps in order, each with a short description and a couple of details, like coffee trees taking 3 to 4 years before they even bear fruit, and the beans getting roasted at around 200 degrees. Then it adds a few context panels around the steps too, with the real numbers, like the 2 billion cups the world drinks every day. So I'll take that back to Higgsfield with GPT Image 2 and generate. And what comes back is the full 8-step journey, in order, with interesting visuals and lots of detail that make someone actually want to learn, instead of just naming the steps. One more thing about doing this through Claude is that if a generation ever comes back slightly off, like one step's label running too long, you don't have to fix it yourself. You just tell Claude what's wrong, and it tightens the prompt and hands it back. It all works as one continuous conversation, like something you do with an actual assistant. That feedback loop is genuinely one of the most underrated parts of this workflow. Instead of going back to square one every time something's slightly off, you're just refining the same prompt in the same conversation. Claude remembers the full context, so it knows exactly which step had the issue and what the rest of the infographic looks like. And that alone cuts the time it takes to get a final result down significantly. It also means that the more you use it within a single session, the better it gets at understanding your preferences. The last style I want to test is the most visually unique one yet, because it doesn't rely on a flat layout. I want to make a full 3D map of Iceland. The best thing about a geographic infographic is that it doesn't have to be a flat world map. It can still include 3D elements like you're actually looking at the country from above, with lots of unique details that will immediately capture the attention of your audiences. Now, if you just prompt for a map of Iceland, you get this flat result with barely any labels and wrong text rendering. So let's head back in Claude, and the prompt for this one specifies that I want that low-angle 3D map of Iceland. It comes back with relevant questions for the map template and the image layout. Once I answer, it writes the finished prompt with lots of details like where the glaciers dome up, how every place should be named, and how the whole thing should look. And around the map, it places the fact panels that will actually teach the reader everything they need to know. So back in Higgsfield's image generation, I'll generate using the same settings. This honestly looks like something out of an atlas. The terrain has real depth to it, and every name is right where it should be, right down to the seas. And what makes this style particularly powerful is that the 3D perspective naturally draws the eye across the whole image. A flat map gives you equal visual weight everywhere, so nothing stands out. But when you tilt the angle and add elevation, the viewer's eye moves from the foreground detail up toward the horizon, which means they're actually reading the infographic the way you intended, instead of just scanning it randomly. That's a design principle that normally takes a lot of time to learn, and the prompt is doing all of it. Geographic infographics are also one of the most usable formats you can make, because they work as standalone content. You can post a 3D map like this without any context, and it still communicates everything on its own. That's harder to pull off with a process diagram or a timeline, but a well-made map does it naturally. And the only reason every one of those labels is correct is that I gave the model all of them, instead of leaving it to guess. The model was never the problem. A thin, lazy prompt is. And once you get that part right, you can make any infographic you want actually look professional. And the best part about this workflow is that it's repeatable, and you can use it to create any kind of infographic you want. So if you want to make your own high-quality infographics, use the link in the description to sign up to Higgsfield. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.